I just achieved my dream that I've had since I was about 8 years old. So I woke up the other day and I went downstairs and I saw a piece of mail uh, came in, and I opened it, and it was the admissions box saying that I got admission into Harvard Law School. And I was the only Latino in the entire world last year to score a perfect score on my LSAT in the entire world. And last year, I also received a letter from the President of the United States, Joe Biden, basically saying that I'm one of the brightest young people in the entire country. So, this series is episode one, kind of walking through a day in my life and kind of my journey uh, in law and politics, being at Harvard Law and going into politics. So, uh, I'll be showing clips and I'll be kind of explaining my day to day life, providing advice and value to you. So we usually wake up. This day I woke up at like 7:30. Usually I do that, get up, uh, do my normal routine. And today I was actually going to my high school to speak, or my old high school to speak to them about kind of my accomplishments, giving them advice. But what I want to share with you today is how did I, get admission into Harvard Law School? Like, what was kind of my story? So it was my dream since I was 8 years old. My dad studied at Harvard over summer when I was eight, and we went and visited him for a few weeks. And I remember seeing the campus, and I was blown away. And I never that it gave me when I was there. Um, and then, once I finished high school, I did apply to go there as an undergraduate, but they rejected me. I was a weak student. Um, but so I got rejected, applying there to undergraduate. But then at that moment, I told myself, okay, these next 4 years, let's make a plan and let's figure out, uh, like, how am I going to get in for graduate school? I thought, I thought maybe I wanted to study economics in graduate school, but it adjusted to law. But so what was my plan? How did I make a plan, have a goal, and how did I execute it to get into this school? So for me, the plan was okay. I did a ton of research. What are the most important kind of rocks to move to get into a school like this? So after a lot of research, I found out it really only comes down to three things, like three criteria that like get you into the school or not. So one is having a high enough GPA. The second is having a high enough uh, uh, like test score, whether it's the LSAT, the GMAT, have a high enough standardized test score. And then the third is it comes down to like your resume and jobs and experience and stuff like that. So it's to get into your graduate program or whatever school you want to. The way I did it is you have to get a high enough GPA, you have to get a high enough LSAT or whatever standardized test it is, and you have to have a strong resume. Literally just comes down to those three things. So I thought, okay, the standardized test, I'm going in as a freshman. I got into UCLA, so I'm thinking, okay, my goal is I want to get to the school. So I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? Well, standardized test, it's a little early for that. We could push that aside until my junior year or something. So I don't think about that until then. But I'm thinking, okay, the things that I need to work on now are my GPA and my resume. Okay. So let's first start with GPA. I was like, okay, I'm going to be starting here. Let's start with GPA. How do I get a good GPA throughout college? So I did a lot of research and I found one book that like is better than everything else. Like any other advice for GPA, there's one book that's better than anything else, and it's a book called. It's literally just how to get straight A pluses in college, and it's by Cal Newport. He wrote the other book. What's it called? He wrote like Deep Work. He wrote another good book. He's a pretty famous author. Wrote Deep Work and I can't remember all other stuff. Digital minimalism. That's what he wrote. Um, and so he wrote a book about how to get straight A's in college. So I read that book, and it literally gives you step by step on how to do it. And I'll give like a summary of the points. One of the main points is only choosing one major. So that's one, only choosing one hard class per quarter, um, making sure or per semester per quarter, whichever one you're on. Never doing more than one hard class. How to study, do kind of one thing of schoolwork at least every day. Like don't take a day off, even if it's just half an hour of writing notes or something. Don't take a day off of schoolwork. So that's another piece of advice that he has in the book. Working, try to get your homework done early in the morning, stuff like that. Um, and yeah, he breaks it down really well in that book. So I really recommend getting that book. But to summarize, again, only choosing one major, only choosing one hard class per quarter. Everyone else is going to be double majoring, and choosing difficult classes because it looks, I don't know, makes them feel smart or something. But if you choose one major, then you could spread it out so that the hard classes are spread out throughout different semesters, and you won't be overworking yourself. You'll have the time and capacity to focus on your classes and really do well in them and get a high GPA. Another recommendation: be that annoying person who goes into office hours and like asks, "Hey, how can I get that A plus?" Um, and then whenever it's midterm or finals season, there's a study method, which is the quiz and recall method, which is like the best way to study, like scientifically and anecdotally by the best students. So basically, throughout the semester or quarter, you take notes, take notes, but then once the midterm or finals come around, you translate and make those notes into a study guide with like the question and answer. And then basically the way you study is you go through the whole study guide until you get, so say there's 20 questions on your study guide that you make. You go through 1 through 20. Any questions you get wrong, you put a check mark on them. Okay, so you've gone through you've done one round of the study guide, you have 5 check marks. Okay, then you take a break for like an hour or two, then you come back to it, and then you only do the ones that you got wrong. And then say you got 3 of those correct and 2 of them wrong, then you wait another 2 hours, you do the last 2 until you're done. And then once you finish the whole thing, then you're done studying. You don't have to study more, it's already in your head. You spread this studying out over a few days, and then you're good to go. The test comes and you know what to do. Essays, he gives a whole process on how to write essays. Pretty simple. That's straightforward. So yeah, that's kind of the study method on how to get straight A's in college. And then also keeping like your jobs and extracurriculars to a minimum. If anything, he recommends try not to have a job if you can. But if you have to get a job, find a job where you can do homework during it, or one that you're really passionate about. In extracurriculars, never do more than one. Just find something you're really interested in and only do one. If you do more, then you won't have the time to focus on your classes. So that's the plan for GPA. I went to UCLA. I had said, okay, I read this book. I know exactly what to do. And I ended up getting a 4.2 GPA. So that was the first step. Because remember, we're talking about 3, the GPA, standardized test, and then your resume. So okay, GPA was set, 4.2 GPA, followed that throughout college, and that was it. Let's see what time we at. Okay. And let's see. So that was that. Let's get back into like the day in the life. Okay. So what did this day look like? So I think I did that. I went to the high school. I was studying, and then I think I went on a walk. So every morning I go like on a walk, and I filmed a little bit of that. I'm not working out right now. Taking a little break, but I will be soon. But yeah, usually my day is like wake up, go on a little walk, then start working, eat, go on a little walk, and then alternate between walking and working. Today, I went to speak at the school, but besides that, and I had like coaching calls. I had coaching calls at night, so I'll put some footage up there. So that was kind of my day. But okay, let's get back to the advice. So that was the GPA. That was the way I got that GPA. The next was like my resume. Like how did I get like a good resume? How did I plan that out? And it really comes down to two pieces of advice for getting a top resume. So one is not to do too many things, because when you do too many things, then you don't do any of them well. So say there's two people. There's one person who chooses one job versus the other person who does 3 jobs over 3 years. So say the first person does 1 job over 3 years, the other person does 3 jobs over 3 years, 3 different jobs, and like 3 different companies. By the end of those 3 years, the first person will have moved up in that organization, will have better stories, build better relationships, build better connections, whereas the second person would be just kind of a low level position at each, because they have to start a new role every year. They have less connections. They could have less to write about because they've had less responsibility. They're at a lower position in the organization. So the advice I would have is to try to keep your jobs and extracurriculars to a minimum. Okay, so what did I do? So what I did is, before I get into what I did, let me give my second piece of advice. So there's that, to minimize the number of jobs and extracurriculars you're doing. But then the question is, what do I choose to keep? What do I choose to get rid of? So only choose what you're super passionate about. Only choose what really fires you up and gets you excited. Don't do something that even gets you slightly bored. And the reason for this is, if you choose something you're passionate about, you're gonna wake up and be excited for it. You'll be super excited for it. You'll be pumped for it, and you'll work harder. You'll rise up more. You'll be able to write more passionate about being your resume. You'll work harder, so you'll do cooler stuff to write cooler stuff in your resume, and you will stick with it longer. And there's just so many benefits. You'll be happier too. So there's just so many benefits for it. And you see, one example of this is, I do LSAT tutoring, but I kind of do it in a unique way. So I was one of 100 people in the entire world to score a perfect score. I was the only Latino in the world to score a perfect score. So I could go about LSAT tutoring 2 ways. I could literally charge $300 an hour for someone to meet with me, and we do one-on-one tutoring. But then that's only working with one individual person at one time. I'm only helping really wealthy people. Or I could do what I'm currently doing, which is providing this, free content on the internet, and providing a paid service at literally $10 an hour, so that it's affordable for everyone. And the link is in the description below. If you're interested in $10 an hour tutoring, check that out. You also get access to a course, basically everything I know all put together on how to get into a top law school, how to get a top LSAT, how to get a top GPA, everything I know all in there, literally only for $10 an hour of my tutoring. So you get both the course and the tutoring, but the tutoring alone, $10 an hour. You get 10 hours of my tutoring per month, 2.5 per week, and so I think honestly that's worth it just alone. But then you also get all the courses, which is are worth more than probably $1,000. You get all of that just for $10 an hour, and I think over the month it's $100. But check that out. So I had those 2 options. Do I want to charge individually or help a lot of people? And the second one fires me up so more. It's dude, I want to help, but I want to democratize this information. I want to help a generation of young people. So that fires me up. I want to make content and do this, not just talk one-on-one for hours. So that's an example of choosing what you're passionate about, and you'll do it better. You'll enjoy it more. When I was going into college, what I did is politics. I love politics. It's what fascinates me. So I stuck with politics every year, and basically my resume grew to the point where I was managing campaigns, and I was passing policy at a local level, and starting my organization, which was involved in politics. All these things because I stuck with politics. I didn't dip my toes in business or other stuff like that. So that's my recommendation for the resume. And then the last part of it was the standardized test. Um, and so I think I started thinking about it like my junior year. I was like, okay, I have a great GPA, I have a good resume, I'm building my resume up. How do I get this last LSAT? So I did a ton of research how to best study. Um, and basically, what I did was I did 1 hour of focused studying a day. Um, and after that, I did that for a few months, and I just did a lot of research. I paid for I paid for some services who helped me speed up this process. And with that, I was able to get a 180 score, like the highest score you could possibly get, a perfect score. So after that, I had all the three boxes checked off because I had a great resume. I also was able to get a Truman Scholarship, which like looked really prestigious. Um, and all of those things like culminated in me getting acceptance into Harvard Law School, and then also Stanford Law School, and UCLA Law School. Um, so that was my path. That was my journey. And I think it could be valuable for you to know, for you to maybe model. Maybe you don't want to go to this exact law school, but if you do want to go to another law school similar, then like gauge your GPA, LSAT, and resume. Those are the only three things that matter. The only three things that matter are those three. Um, and yeah, so that is my kind of journey on how I got to this point. And let's see, so I'll go back to kind of my day in the life. So besides kind of working, how I end the day off is I usually go on a little walk again, and then I'll end the night off calling one of my team members for the organization I founded. We just do a check-in call, making sure everything's going smoothly, what we did today, what we're going to do tomorrow, just checking in, making sure the organization is moving forward over time. And then at night, what do I do? Kind of chill out, relax, watch some YouTube, maybe call my family. And then I'll call it a night at around 10:30. Maybe I'll do I like showering before I sleep, calms me down, and I'll just relax and then call it a day. And that's kind of a day in the life. That was how my day was that day. So that was a busy day because that night I actually had a lot of coaching calls, tutoring calls. Kind of slowing down on them now, offering this service that's in the link in the description below. I think it's really worth it. But that is, my first episode 1 day in the life. It was super cool getting admission into like opening the box was surreal. So yeah, if you have any questions, comment down below. Please subscribe if you want to see the next episode. And yeah, check out the link in the description below if you're interested in tutoring. $10 an hour, less than $10 an hour. It's a steal. I think the price might go up a little bit over time, so get it now. And yeah, all right, I'll see you on the next episode.